we are joined with a very special guest, former ESPN broadcaster and current Fox Sports and NBC Chicago broadcaster, Adam Amin. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Doing great, boys. How are you doing?
We have a special guest in the house. We've got the man in charge, University of Louisiana Director of Athletics, Dr. Brian Maggard. Dr. Maggard, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
And we are now joined by the managing editor of D1 Baseball, Mr. Kendall Rogers.
Introducing Mr. Nick Domingue to the Rage and Review podcast. A lot of you guys may know him as the person who invented the phrase, and the answer is not Ron Guidry.
Man, I tell you what, but these candied yams with like the marshmallows in it is about the most unappealing looking gelatinous shaws that I've ever seen.
I actually kind of like I really like good cinnamon marshmallow yams.
You like the can? Are you 60? No, really?
We've got Lane Johnson here. Lane's going to be part of the Rage and Review crew. He's going to do a lot of background work for us. He's going to help us with our production. Lane, welcome aboard, buddy. How you doing?
Get ready. Buckle up. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of things on the pipeline and can't wait to share it and have a good time with you guys on it.
Yeah, prepare yourselves. It's gonna
get
be
ready.
A lot of fun.
I'm just letting every Cajun Nation know and all our listeners know. Get ready.
The Ragin' Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Ragin' Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Lord, ready. Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? Yes, sir.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Rage and Review. Another episode coming your way tonight as we put a bow on, as Jerry would say, put a bow on the weekend versus Georgia Southern. No midweek games to talk about in baseball, so it makes it kind of easy for us. And then we look ahead to Georgia State. So we had the two Georgias, Georgia Southern at home, Georgia State on the road, boys. We'll take a look at all of that. First of all, Lane, what's going on, man? How are you?
Not much. Doing pretty well.
Good. And Jerry, welcome back. You've been, I don't know where the hell you've been. You've been out of the country or something, but you're back.
I've been out of state. I was out of state last week for a few days. And of course, we have a lot of family matters in good way, but just kind of takes up time to hang out with you guys. But it's good to be back in the studio tonight.
Well, good deal, boys. We're glad to have you all both here. First of all, before we get started, want to thank our amazing sponsors who make Rage and Review possible, both here and on our website, rageandreview.com. Want to thank Awardmaster, Dr. Brett Venable, Lafayette Roofing, Eat Lafayette, and Ragin' Hydration. You'll hear more from them in the coming weeks and months, but thanks to them for making Rage and Review possible. Boys, all in all, not a bad weekend for the Ragin' Cajuns as we pick up a couple of wins and win the series against Georgia Southern starting on Friday night. Now, that continued into Saturday because of some rain, but I got to tell you, Chase Morgan looked just unbelievable on Friday night. He ended up going 6 full innings, getting 100 pitches under his belt. And that last pitch that he threw for the strikeout talked a little trash at the Georgia Southern batter, which made me happy. And I think a lot of fans happy. That's something we all kind of, and I say we all, a lot of us fans wanted to see this season, is we wanted to see which upperclassman, which guy, which dude would show up and be a dude. That was uncharacteristic from Simo because he doesn't typically show his emotion on the mound. But I got to tell you, that was good to see, Jerry. But all in all, bats came alive. We did our job. We limited the mistakes in the fielding. They ended up scoring a run on Saturday, which, that'll happen when you're continuing a game for the following day. But we end up winning the ball game 4-1. All in all, a good experience. Your thoughts on the Friday into Saturday game versus Georgia Southern?
Well, anytime you have a game that has to end due to weather, it's always tough to pick up from where you left off because you just never know the next day if you can continue the momentum or if Georgia Southern comes in with a spark with a good night of sleep. But I thought we did a good job coming in on, well, first of all, I thought, like you said, Simo just was Simo on the mound, had a lot of swag, showed a lot of emotion. It's funny because he reacts to almost every one of his pitches. Like if it's a strike, he's going to give a little fist pump. If it's a ball or just misses on the outside, he'll kind of give a little sigh like, oh man, but great Friday night performance by Simo. I thought the bats weren't as quite energetic as I would have liked to seen Friday night, but enough to get 2 runs and be up 2-0. So I was glad to see they were able to continue that on Saturday. Of course, Herman coming in on Saturday. I know it's so confusing, man, because of, but he came in. Yeah, he came in on Saturday and started the game 1. And I thought he did a really good job there. And of course, he gave up a home run, I believe, like the first at bat, if I'm not mistaken. But the bats responded. Our bats responded, and we were able to come out with that 4-1 victory. So usually there's a little bit of a scare when you kind of have that sort of continuation of a game because you don't know which team's going to show up, but it was really good. We pretty much finished that first game, Nick, I want to say Saturday within 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah,
so that was good
quick.
to see.
Yeah,
that was good to see. And that means we kind of continued that energy from Friday night. So that was good. That was good.
Yeah, that's always something you worry about is will the energy carry over? Will Simo, getting that strikeout, energizing the dugout carry over? And it did. And, they did what they had to do. And like you said, it wasn't like, I know I said that the bats came alive. The bats did what they had to do. When you've got Simo on the mound, you got to expect he's going to hold them to 2 or 3 runs. If you can score 4 runs on a Friday night, you're 9 out of 10 times going to win that game. And we did just that. We got the 4 runs, and I think it worked out well for us. And I know Festival also played a big role in it, Lane, because a lot of fans were attending Festival. They had other things going on. They had people in, kind of straddling both worlds. And then you have the rain out and you come back the next day. It was a little difficult to be in the stadium because of just, it's not the typical Friday night atmosphere that you have. I know, were you at the Friday night game? I'm not sure if you were able to make any games this weekend because I know you had a lot going on with Festival and all that.
So I didn't go to any of the games. I went to Festival on Sunday, but Friday and Saturday, I was with my dad who came into town for an ALS.
Nice.
So I didn't watch a single pitch, but I was keeping up with it on my phone, seeing what everybody else was talking about. And
I was going to say, watching the group chat there, right? Yeah. I was going to ask about the Section A experience, but I guess we'll give you a pass on this weekend since your dad was in town and we had Festival. But, just not your typical Friday night crowd because of Festival, and that's understandable. How many cities in the Sun Belt can say that they have a world-class festival in their backyard during a baseball game? I'm not sure. But continuing on Saturday, again, the bats did do their thing again. Louisiana goes up by 4 runs in the first inning and never really looks back. That was never a question whether or not the Cajuns would get the win after the first inning. Andrew Herman, after closing out the game, or should I say the Friday night game on Saturday, he comes back in, pitches a couple of innings, really held Georgia Southern down. Tate Hess comes in, gets the job done. Toit and Holtzhammer close it out. All in all, again, a good team performance on Saturday to seal up the series win. I know that guy, Clements Crazies, wasn't happy about it. In fact, I was like, where are you, dude? He's all, you'll always be Lafayette. Well, I guess you'll always be daddy because you haven't won a series against us in several years. But Jerry, your thoughts on the second Saturday game? I mean, to me, that's the Cajuns team that we want to see out there, and that's really what we got on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that was a typical game that we've been waiting for, where everything, the full package kind of arrived. I think we had great, like you said, great pitching all around. Great to see Andrew come in the second game and pitch. I think he pitched about 3 or 4 innings to start. Solid innings, and then our bats really got going early on. I think we jumped off to a 3 or 4-0 lead early on, and so we were able to hold on to that lead. And Tate Hess, how about Tate Hess? That we've been kind of waiting for Tate Hess to have a good 5 or 6 inning game, and he came in the other day and he pitched, I think, a good 5 innings, and he gave up maybe a few runs here and there. He really didn't start giving up really consistent base hits until they took him out, so that was really good to see. So I was very pleased with that. So, and defensively, I thought we did a good job in the field. So that was one of those complete games that, against good competition that we haven't seen quite a while, outside of the Old Dominion game last week on Saturday. But all in all, I think that was kind of a game where I'm starting to realize, first of all, we had a consistent lineup 2 games in a row, and you're starting to see that click. And then also too, it just kind of solidified the fact that I think our weekend pitching up until that point was very effective. And if we can hit the ball, then, we should be able to win most of these games. So, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better start to the series. And it was great to clinch the series like that going into Sunday.
No, I totally agree with you. And another Higgy bomb, his 14th of the season on Saturday. So that was good to see.
It was solo. It was another solo bomb too.
That is what we do best, is solo home runs. But regardless, love seeing a Higgy bomb out there. And that really kept us, in 4th place in the standings. And we'll look at the Sun Belt Conference standings in a little bit. But you knew going into this series, you had to win 2 against Georgia Southern to maintain where you are in the standings and keep that coveted spot of not having to play a play-in game, which is very important in the Sun Belt Conference tournament, especially when you have, you're looking at your pitchers and you're saying, okay, a day off, we'll take that and we'll go from there while the other team is pitching their Saturday guy against your Friday guy. So I'll take it. And that was a good thing for the Cajuns over the weekend. Now, of course, Sunday, Cajuns didn't get the dub. Now, I will not say they played poorly. When you look at the line score, we had 3 runs, 6 hits. There were 2 errors. So again, something we need to clean up, but you look at the 5th inning, and I mean, the Cajuns and the Golden Eagles were kind of going back and forth during that game. Louisiana scored 3 runs. Georgia Southern comes back in the 4th and they score 1. So it's 3-1. We go to the top of the 5th and Georgia Southern has 2 men on base. And there is a play at first base that when you go back and look at it, and the runner slides into first, and it looks in real time like he's out. Like you're looking and you're saying this guy's out. He beat the throw, and bases loaded. Going back and looking at it in real time or in slow motion, and they did review the play, he was out by a half step. And Dan said it, and they played it over and over again. And I know some people said, well, his foot came off the bag. You look at a different angle. No, actually, it didn't. I don't know why they didn't have enough evidence to overturn that call, because he should have been called out at first. Now, granted, there were still two runners on, but that kind of gave Georgia Southern a little momentum. And guess what? Next thing you know, they score 3 runs and never look back and end up winning the Sunday game. Now, we're going to go to something else that happened later in the game that I think had a significant effect on whether or not we won. But let's go back to that call. Did either of you see the call at first and see what I saw? Because I posted it on X, and most people were like, yeah, that was a terrible, how did they get this wrong twice? But then you have your typical fans that are like, no, of course he was safe. And I'm like, no, he was not. Did either of you see it either live or the replay? And what are your thoughts on that play? I'll start with you, Jerry. What do you think?
So I was at the game sitting up top. So from my angle, I couldn't tell if it was out or safe, because he started to slide when Donkey caught it from at first base. So I couldn't tell. That was a call based on the first base umpire. Of course, he calls him safe, and they go right away and go review it. And I was up top in one of the suites, and the guy in the suite next to us could watch the TV, and he was like, man, I don't know. He's out. And right when they were showing the replay on the TV, he goes, oh yeah, he's out. Like very convinced. And so I'm like, oh, well, they're going to overturn it. And sure enough, they go back on the field and the umpire calls them safe. So, I mean, it's really a big time judgment call. I didn't actually see the replay personally. All I know is from the angle, if they showed it from the angle that I saw it, you could make an argument that he was safe without even looking. But the problem was they showed the side angle. And where people got mad was on the side angle, it looked like the ball hit Donkey's glove before the guy's finger reached the base.
Did. There's no
so right. So at that point, I mean, again, if it was, I mean, Nick, I know you saw it, so I didn't, but let me ask you, do you think it was a no doubter out call, or was it like what, I mean, how?
Yeah, I don't understand how they did not. Now, looking at it again, real time, it looked like he was safe.
Yeah.
But when you slow it down frame by frame, there was no question the ball got there before he did. Now, again, people are saying, well, his foot was off the bag. Well, no, it wasn't, because they showed a different angle and it was not off the bag. So you can't say he was both off the bag and didn't make the catch, because video replay said both of those are incorrect. So how do you not overturn that unless their replay booth has a different angle that includes none of the TV angles? That I don't know. But my question, like, how do you get it wrong twice? That's my problem, Lane. How do you get the call wrong twice? Do you think they were wrong, or do you think, am I dreaming this up? Like, what are your thoughts?
I saw what you posted, and from the looks of it, he was out by like you said, half a step. But in my opinion, you have a really good baseball league with terrible umpires. They can't,
and only 3 umpires, by the way. Let's talk about that.
They can't make the right call even after a replay. And there's been worse calls than this season, but in a pivotal series coming down to the stretch, you got to have those calls made. And I don't know if they would have changed if they had 4 umpires or not, but you got to get it right, I feel like.
Yeah, that's all I want, is for them to get the call right. And that's what replay is supposed to be about. And if the guy on the field misses it and then you miss it on the replay, somebody has to have the testicular fortitude to say, okay, we made a mistake here. I will say Georgia Southern lost every single challenge they made the entire weekend. And there were a couple of those that I'm like, they should overturn that, and they didn't. So I don't know if it's his crew. I don't know if it's the crew chief who reviews these things. But his standard of care when it comes to reviewing, they just were not willing, Jerry, to overturn any calls this weekend.
Well, I think it comes down to the question of, if you're going to have instant replay, if you're going to spend the money, if the conference is going to spend the money to have instant replay and take time out of the game where you have to pause and look at it and dissect what you saw to make a judgment call. I mean, if it's true what you guys are saying, because again, I didn't get to look at, I didn't see it yet, but if it's true where he was out by at least a half a step, then and you still call him safe, then what's the point of having instant replay? What are you wasting time for? That's the issue I have. I mean, and I know a lot of times it has to be, an undisputed call where it's, beyond a shadow of a doubt, but I would just be curious as to know, what did they see to keep him safe at first? Now, granted, I am not going to blame that call on the fact that we gave up 3 runs right after. I think it was on 2 outs. But at the same time, like to Lane's point, if we want to be a serious conference, a serious contender for being a top 5 conference in college baseball, these are the little things you can't mess up. And Lane, you also mentioned this isn't the first time we've seen this year. I mean, we've seen some pretty atrocious calls in spite of instant replay, right?
Including
so that's
a
where
home run that went off the wall or
right.
whatever.
Yeah, thanks, Brian Broussard.
Well, but that's the point. If you're spending this kind of money to get instant replay and you're still missing calls, what's it all for, right? That's where my issue comes in. If we're going to take this time to spend money and spend resources and waste time doing this, at least get the calls right and be consistent with it.
No, I totally agree with you. And again, I'm not saying it led to the 3 runs or that it cost us the game, because you look at later in the game where we had runners on first and second, nobody out. And then what do? We double steal, get caught at third, and then you have a whole nother situation, which was absolutely ridiculous, which we shouldn't have done in that position at that moment, Jerry.
I agree with that. I think if you don't, I mean, look, let's be honest. Look at what happened, right? If we don't steal first and second, Donkey walks. And then I think it was either Connor or Higgy got hit by a pitch or somebody got hit by a pitch. Well, that's the run. All you got to do is stand at the plate. You don't even have to swing, and you automatically get a run in. At the same time, on the other hand, if our lineup is as quote unquote getting better as we claim in the last few weeks, you're down 1 run. It's a Sunday game at home. You're on the verge of sweeping a team. You have all the momentum. You got to get a timely hit. You got to get a timely hit. We didn't score a run, I think, Nick, and when I'm not even looking right now, but without looking at the stats, we scored 3 runs going through what, 4 innings or the 5th
we
inning?
scored 1 run in each of the first 3 innings and then didn't
score the rest of the game against Sunday pitching at home against a team that you're about to sweep.
Oh, and by the way, between the 2 teams, there were 8 hit batters, 4 of them for us. So
we left 11 men on base on Sunday, I believe.
Correct.
Guys. I mean, this is look, the week before in Norfolk against Old Dominion at their house, you run rule them. And yet you can't score 1 run in the last 6 innings on a Sunday at home to sweep this team. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know the 8th inning, it was frustrating because we tried to double steal, but you had 5 other innings and other opportunities to score 1 run.
And by the way, we chased their starter out of the game in the 2nd inning. The guy who came in and won the game ended up, going 6 innings and we couldn't touch him.
Yeah.
And then you got Tillett, who I thought Tillett did a great job. Unfortunately, the 4 runs get charged to him. He gets the loss. McGehee came in, did his job. So it's not on the pitching. Our bats just need to protect our pitchers at that point.
It's Sunday. It's Sunday, and you gave up 4 runs at home against a team that you were about to sweep. It should not be difficult to score more than 4 runs in that situation. And I'm going to tell you, man, if there's any pitcher I feel bad for right now, it's J.R. Tillett, because the dude's pitching his butt off. Okay. Every Sunday, like, he solidified his Sunday role, starting with the game against JMU. And then you go look at Texas State, pitched a great game against Texas State. We lose. Goes to Monroe, pitched a great game against ULM. We lose. I mean, help the guy out, man. It's a Sunday game. It is a Sunday game. I mean, to me, hell, I think J.R. Tillett's good enough for a Friday, Saturday start, honestly, if he's only given up 2 or 3 runs, but we can't score more than 2 or 3 runs against their pitching. That's more frustrating to me than anything, is that JR's pitching his tail off and he's just dominating on Sunday, and our bats aren't complimenting it. And I know it frustrates the coaching staff. I know it frustrates the team, but you got to get out of that funk, and you got to have, like you talk about, that SEMO mentality. You got to have that killer instinct on Sunday and put a bow on top of whatever series you go through, like we did against ODU, right? That should be, to me, every Sunday based on this lineup that we have. There's no excuse to go flat for 6 straight innings against Georgia Southern like we did last weekend or last Sunday.
Yeah, and the thing that I'd like to see, and again, Higgs always comes through in some way in a ball game. You had that in the bottom of the 9th where he doubled down the left field line, and he had runners on 2nd and 3rd because of I don't know if you call it an error. It was they ruled it a double, but the left fielder totally lost the ball. He totally lost it, and he got credit for a double. So we'll say that that's an easy double for Higgy. But Higgy always seems to find a way somehow to come through at some point in the game. So he did that there by luck. And then Stelly, man, that one pitch he hit that went down the right field line, I thought that was, and then it like somehow ended up back in the field of play. And I'm like, well, if it was a foul ball, how did it end up back in the field of play? Like, so that confused me, but whatever. I'm not going to get into all that. But then flies out on a deep fly ball to end the game. So it was good to see a little bit of fight in him, even though it took a little bit of luck by Higgy. But the guys never gave up and really tried to pull it out at the end. But it's baseball. Those games happen, and we got the series win, man.
That's true. I mean, Caleb Stelly's last out. I mean, let's be honest. That right fielder had to do some somersaults in the outfield to catch it. And so, I mean, and then, like you said, the pitch before, I mean, he hit it pretty hard to right field. So, I mean, we had some opportunities. It just, sometimes it doesn't land your way. But look, the good news I got out of this weekend is I think they're starting to figure it out. you've got the weekend rotation, in my opinion, that can go against anybody in the conference. You finally have a lineup, I think, that's showing some more consistency. I love the fact that Mannix Mandino, we kind of had some expectation for him last year, but I think he needs to stay as leadoff. He's the fastest runner on the team. He actually has some really good pop to his swing, and he's been able to get on base. And I think if you can get him on base to start the game, I think the guys behind him can complement him. But really, it's just about the consistency now. With the lineup that we have, Sunday, like I said, you have to close it out. But I do like the fact that we talk about the lineups. I think this lineup is good enough right now to carry us moving forward in trying to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. Now it's all about the depth of the pitching, especially when you start going deep. We got the tournament in 3 weeks. Now we have to start planning for that of, okay, what's our rotation looking like? I mean, last week we pitched, then Sam Ardoin pitched against Nichols. Maddox is pitching a little bit. We're kind of adding some depth to our pitching staff. That's going to be more something I'm looking for and seeing who's coming out the pen more than anything. We've got our 3 starters. Who's going to be coming out the pen more often than not?
Jerry, you said something like, we're finally putting it together. We've said that how many times this season, and then we end up shooting ourselves in the foot. So I'm not going to, I appreciate it. And I'm hoping you're right. I really am. And I have a little bit of that in me. But right now I want to see what they do on the road against Georgia State this weekend. And then maybe we can talk, especially when we have to go on the road again at Southern Mississippi. That's going to be a dogfight. Let's taking a look at where we are in the standings at this point. Coastal Carolina leads the conference at 17-4, followed by Southern Miss and Troy. Louisiana rounding out the top 4 at 12-9, which comparatively speaking, when you look at our overall record, that's good for us in conference, especially in the Sun Belt Conference. Arkansas State and App State tied behind us for 5th at 11-10. Then you get into Georgia Southern at 10-11, along with Old Dominion. Georgia State at 9-12, which I feel like we got to win that series and hopefully sweep this weekend. Marshall and Texas State also at 9-12. You always hear Texas State is going to win every single championship in every sport every year, and here they are, 4th to last in the league right now, which is just mind-boggling. ULM at 7-14, along with South Alabama, which is surprising, and then James Madison, who is supposedly the crown jewel of the Sun Belt, at 6-15 in baseball this year. But I am not disappointed by where we are right now. Obviously, I'd like to be in the top 2, top 1. Or top 1 be in first place, but not every season can you do what we did last season. But based on the entire body of work and what we have done this season, guys, I can't say I'm disappointed at 4th. Lane, your thoughts on where we are right now in the standings?
I think it's a testament to how hard the guys have worked this season, especially with the schedule we had early on. But our schedule for the conference kind of evens out and eases up the last 3-4 weeks. So that kind of helps us in that regard. I mean, the toughest team we have left is Southern Miss, but we have teams below us that we should sweep. So I'm hoping that we could end up at the 2 or 3 seed at the very least.
Jerry, your thoughts where we are, and then we'll move on to Georgia State.
Kind of surprised considering how we started the season. And then if you look at that 12-9 record, I mean, there's at least 3 or 4 games I can mark where we should have won. You talk about 12-9, now you're maybe sitting at 15-6, right? If you get enough base hits against one of the ULM games, you're 13-8. If you go take care of business on that Sunday game against Texas State, you're 14-7. And now you're sitting tied for 3rd with Troy. If you get the timely hit against Troy the Friday night, you're 15-6. Now tied for 2nd place with Southern Miss. Like Lane said, you're playing against the next 2 out of 3 conference series. I think Georgia State's very winnable this weekend, and I think Arkansas State's very winnable, as much improved as they are this year. So, and of course Southern Miss. Look, if our pitching does what they're supposed to do in Hattiesburg, that's going to be a war. It is. So this weekend is important. I think what's important about this weekend are the bats. Swing the bats. And if they can do that and build confidence in these last few weeks setting up for the postseason, then I think it's going to be interesting to see where we are. But to your point, we've had so many ups and downs this year. You just don't know. We're just waiting for that moment. We're waiting for that moment. And I thought we had it against ODU, that last game on Saturday before Easter. And then you have a little bit of a hiccup of what you went through on Sunday against Georgia Southern. I think if we don't have that hiccup, I think that the tone of the conversation right now is a little bit different, because then you're on a win streak. So we'll see. We'll see. One game at a time.
Cole Gilbo chiming in. What is up, man? Section A. Great tuning in tonight. And boys, we're going to go ahead and move on to Georgia State that we face this weekend over in Atlanta, GA, or Cobb County, or wherever the hell they are in Georgia. We're going to face them in a couple days. But before we get into the nitty gritty on Georgia State, we do want to play this little interview that Lane and I had the pleasure of conducting earlier today with Georgia State head coach Brad Stromdahl. When we're done with that, we'll come back. We'll talk about what all to expect over the weekend at Georgia State. And then we'll take a look at other things going around the athletics complex this week. So here we go with Coach Brad Stromdahl of Georgia State. All right, we'd like to welcome in a special guest to Rage and Review today, Coach Brad Stromdahl of the Georgia State Panthers. Coach, we're really excited to have you on today. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good, man. Crawfish season is in full force here in Louisiana and Texas, so we're doing just fine, man. We're doing just fine. I don't think we'll get that in Atlanta when we visit you guys, but I'm sure we'll talk about some places maybe our fans want to visit later in the interview. Sure, but first, want to get right into it, Coach. You've for our fans to get to know you a little better, you've had a few stops in your coaching career. You've been at Marshall, Central Michigan, Georgia. Is it Georgia Gwinnett?
Yes.
And then at 2 stints at Georgia State. First as assistant from 2007 to 11, and now the head coach from COVID till today. So talk a little bit about your journey coming back to Georgia State, especially during that year of COVID where we kind of had to stop things in the middle of the season.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a good career. I think we all have different journeys in life for sure. And, I've been really fortunate to be able to have, good luck in getting jobs and being able to keep jobs and have really good athletics directors and people around me, and just really been blessed with my career and how it's gone so far, and really excited to be back at Georgia State. I obviously was an assistant here for 5.5 or 6.5 years under Coach Frady, did a great job, went to a regional, and then was able to take over a program that just started. It was the newest NAIA program in the country. Was able to do that, I think, 2011, 2012, and really just had a great time. We built a stadium. We were able to go to the World Series our first year of eligibility, and we've been able to see that program flourish. They won the World Series a couple of years ago. They've been, I think, 5 or 6 years in a row now to the NAIA World Series, and so I've been really blessed to have been around those people and been able to be a part of my life. And then obviously this job was able to come open, and I was fortunate enough to get it with what I had done and where we had been. And, just really always, this is where I kind of cut my teeth. I was recruiting coordinator for the first time here ever as a young kid. Didn't know what I was doing, but, just Georgia State has always been in my soul and in my body and who I'm all about. And just love being here and, being able to really just kind of take over a program and continually slowly inch our way better and further and into, the middle of the pack. We, obviously we think we can win. We think we can do really good things here and continue to go. But, we're building a new stadium. We got that on track to hopefully open the spring of 26. And so unbelievable forward momentum here in Atlanta. And just really, again, fortunate to be here and loving what we do.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the stadium because that was something I was going to ask you about later, but I'll ask you now. You're kind of in a public park right now, right?
We're in the back of a DeKalb County bus lot, but the field has been here since late 70s, and so Coach Hurst, who was kind of we've had about 6 head coaches over our time, and Georgia State baseball has stopped and started from the early 60s all the way through mid 80s is when it kind of was like, okay, let's have a baseball program. And Coach Hurst was the one that kind of put it back on the map. He has since passed, and his numbers on the wall. So when you're watching the big game, We have his number retired on the wall in memory of what he's done for us. And so everything has kind of grown up around us. Softball's on the other side. We own a tract of land that's, I don't know, probably 100 acres in the city. And kind of all of our sports were going to be out here a long time ago, back in the 80s, early 90s. And baseball and softball have been the only ones that have stayed out here. Everything has kind of progressed downtown, which is exactly where it needs to be and all that stuff. And so it's a really great playing surface. It's a little bit difficult to get to from some times from downtown traffic wise, but we embrace it. We love where we're at. Some people call us the bus lot boys, but I think we're 18-8 or 18-9 at home. And every year we play good at home. So it's always nice to be here in the bus lots. And we're looking forward to the Raging Cajuns coming in.
Yeah, well, I think I've been there one time, and I hated it because you guys beat us there more than anything. But I will say, new stadium coming, as you mentioned, that's got to help you guys out in recruiting, right? Being able to recruit to that new stadium, I'm sure that's helping you a lot in that regard, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that there's a lot of different factors. Obviously, having a brand new facility is number one on the pillar of like bullet points that you want. But I think that the way the transfer portal has gone, the way that the junior college rules and all of the new rules coming down have really helped us within our model. Mostly is that all of the big schools that are around us and everybody that kind of recruits Atlanta, which is really the whole entire Southeast. Is kind of really making a transition back to the portal kid, which leaves a very, very great opening for us. It's probably our best pitching staff recruiting-wise that we've had come in high school-wise. And I think that what we're going to be able to do is maximize some location, the 34-man roster limits, all of that to really give us a chance to be able to pitch on the weekends and pitch for a long time because of the talent we're going to be able to get from the time that they step out of high school into college. Because it's just you gotta be able to at some of the big schools around here, you got to be able to pitch right away. And if you can't make that 34-man roster, it's going to be tough for you to go. So we're giving some young guys an opportunity to be able to come in. It's been a part of the stadium. It's kind of all the conglomerate together, being able to put us in a position where we can put some young kids on the field to throw really hard and be able to coach. And that's what we love to do. We love to coach. We love to freaking get out there and grind, play hard, and teach the game. It's what it's all about.
I love that, man. And look, I will admit, it drives me nuts that you have the old Brave Stadium right there and you can't play in there or couldn't play in it. That drives me nuts a little bit. But you know what? Things work out for a reason, and look, I'm truly excited for you guys getting that new space. But along those lines in recruiting, let's talk about NIL, because you mentioned recruiting against Georgia and Georgia Tech, and then you've got these other P5 programs. I mean, look at us. We've got LSU right down the road. Texas is not that far. A&M is right there. Mississippi State. As far as NIL goes, has that made it more difficult for you to recruit guys? Or has that changed, I guess, your recruiting strategy? I know more of the G5, quote, G5 programs are looking to more, recruit guys from high school and try to get them developed throughout their career. Is that changed what you guys are doing there, or is NIL been a benefit to you guys? I guess I'm just asking, how is it different from you at this point?
Sure. I mean, I think every school has its barriers to entry. I mean, it's location, cost of attendance, how academically astute the school is, where, there's so many different factors that I can only speak for us for sure. But from our standpoint, I mean, it's helped us. I mean, we have some NIL dollars. We're able to do some creative things, from a financial standpoint. But again, we're going to live and die probably 80+% of our kids from the state of Georgia. And we want kids from here or just, border states. We'll go out of town and grab a couple of kids out of the portal or whatever we need to plug and play. But we want the majority of our hometown players to be from right here. And so the NIL hasn't really helped us in terms of being able to garner said player, because we just don't have, $500,000 laying around every year like some schools do. But what we do is it really whittles down the ability for us to be able to hire or to really recruit a really good high school kid and a really good junior college kid that maybe got overlooked for whatever reason, or, a portal kid that kind of fell down the list where, some other guys are getting a lot of money and they kind of get left out there in the cold. And, we're a great place to be able to come into the Sun Belt, be able to play right away, be able to play. We have great facilities. It's an urban environment, and some kids embrace that and some kids don't. But it's really just a matter of we've been able to, with the portal, with the NIL dollars, with all of the things going on, it's opened up another world of recruiting. And so what we don't want to do is we don't want to chase our tail trying to get a kid where we really can't come up with 60 or 70 or whatever people are doing. What we do is we go after the kid that wants a chance and still as good of a player as he can. It's just like the Caleb Freeman kid on our team right now. He wanted a chance. He was at Auburn last year. And he might, if we can finish strong here, I mean, he is, probably one of the top 3 candidates for player of the year in the Sun Belt League. And so, it's a place for the big fish and the big pond to be a little bit of a big fish, a littler pond coming down from the ACC, SEC. And then on the flip side of that, there's a player of the year, and a conference has the ability to step up and increases draft stock. And so, it's just, I can only speak for ourselves and how we go about it. But, those are the kids we're looking for gritty, tough, kids that have a chip on their shoulder, and that's how we have to play.
And Lane, before you go, I did want to say that also speaks to the strength of the Sun Belt Conference itself, because while it's not the SEC, right? I don't think any conference in the country is the SEC in baseball right now. It speaks to the strength of the conference that kids want to play here, because you're seeing guys like on our team, DeBarge, get drafted in the first or second round, and you're like, holy crap, that could be us, right? So that also helps with the recruiting. And you might not have the NIL money, but you're going to get the recognition. You're going to get the exposure. You're going to get the scouts at your games watching you. So I think that's got to speak to the strength of the conference as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Coach, you mentioned earlier that you guys play a little bit better at home this season than on the road. What can you really attribute that to? Is it playing in front of the home fans? Is it things click easier? Like, what do you think?
I honestly don't know. I mean, obviously we've played more home games than road games at this point in time, so that helps. And I mean, honestly, it's a safe place for us. I think it's a tough place for an opponent to come in to play. Here, there's a lot of things, amenities that some kids aren't used to, and it's really truly just baseball. And I think that I would hope every team plays better at home. Across the country, just because you are statistically the home team and have the last at bat. But I think that there's a safe haven here, and there's an ability to kind of just be at ease and go and just be yourself here. And we really enjoy and we embrace what it is that is at home. So,
and on that front, y'all started the season 12-7. Before conference play started, and then you swept South Alabama to start conference play before losing a couple conference series. How important is it for you guys to finish strong in the later part of the season?
I mean, it's everything. I think that we're 8th or 9th in the conference right now. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't looked recently because it doesn't really matter. But what I do know is that Lafayette, Marshall, and App State are the 3 weekends that we have left, and all 3 are within an arm's reach of where we are. So ultimately, we control our own destiny, and that's what you want for your team. You want to be able to go out there and say, okay, this is what's left out here, and you either take care of business or you don't. And so I think anytime that when you control your own destiny, 3 weeks to a month out, I think that that's a really good thing. And so we can still finish easily in the top 6. I like where we're at. I like our team. I think we're in a good place. We haven't played very well recently. Coastal at home, they pitched as good as anybody in the conference has pitched. I think Southern Miss is a really difficult place to play. And then, we just battled at Arkansas State, and we did not come up with a big clutch hit or, put somebody away when we needed to. And we just take complete ownership in it. But ultimately, we have to go out there and we have to compete. We have to win some baseball games. And, it's just been this conference is hard. 3 out of the last 4 weekends have been on the road. We were at James Madison, and then oh my goodness, Southern Miss and then Ark State. So, that's a lot of travel for these kids. And we were going through finals last week, and there's no excuses whatsoever. But, The reality is that we control what it is that we're at right now. And after going through that gauntlet to play the next 2 weekends at home and then finish at App, I like where we're at. I like what we've talked about, and our guys are in a good place. It's just we didn't come up with the end result that we wanted. The process still stays the same. The standard still stays the same. And, you go lean into the culture and you lean into the execution and you see what happens.
Execution and consistency, Coach. I think that's something that we saw from the Cajuns have seen throughout the season, right? And something that concerns us going into it. So I appreciate you saying that, because it's execution, it's consistency, and there is no easy win on the schedule this year. I mean, you saw we went to ULM and lost 2 out of 3. I mean, you could lose 2 out of 3. I mean, hell, we can go to your place and get swept this weekend if we're not playing our game. So, well, not on our end, but after this weekend, we'll cheer for you, but not this weekend. Let's talk about pitching a little bit. So you mentioned Arkansas State. You went with Cole Roberts, Jake Hembry, and Ross Norman. Those were your 3 starters last weekend. Can we expect that this weekend against the Cajuns?
Yep. So I mean, we're Cole's a little bit tired from he's pitched. He's took on a heavy load. So we'll see what we may hold him back a little bit pitch count wise or whatever. But for the most part, that's kind of the plan moving forward. Jake Hembry, pitched multiple, I think 3 or 4 midweeks in a row. Again, he's a freshman, so it's I think we were playing 6 freshmen on Sunday. So again, it kind of goes back into the philosophy, but it's a little bit tough sometimes when you got these guys that it's the first time that they've done things. This is their first experience. The talent level is absolutely through the roof, but the experience part is like, what happens when you get hit in the mouth, and can you get back up, and can you fight? And so I think that we're at the point of the season now where everybody's kind of been punched in the mouth a couple of times and they know how to react. And so Ross being a sophomore on Sunday, I think gives us a really good chance to be able to win a series, tie us, be able to take a lead or save a series. And so him on the back end is helpful. I think Jake has the ability, especially to within your lineup and what you guys bring to the table. I think he's kind of like he's a neutral. He'll give you guys fits from the left side, and so I think he's a good matchup. And then obviously Cole's been really good all year, so really looking forward to seeing what those guys can do and bounce back after the Arkansas State series.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Look, Chase Morgan versus Roberts. I've seen him pitch. I've seen Roberts pitch this season. He's pretty damn good. And then Norman on Sunday is really good too. So I look forward to the pitching matchups as far as the starters go. Regarding your bullpen, is there anybody we need to take note of that really has stepped up for you guys this season and might be giving us a few problems this weekend?
Yeah, I think that Caleb White, he was our Friday night guy for a few weeks. I think he started the first month and Friday night, and we had a couple of it was just a weird kind of start to our season where we really needed to have a couple of guys go to the bullpen, a couple of guys bounce back and forth, and so he went from being the Friday night guy to kind of being long relief, and him and Tyson Benford, and then Jake Cruz. I think those 3 guys have done a really good job. And then Brian Crooms, he pitched last night. He pitched on Wednesday night versus Mercer, and so he's really coming in as the kind of let's get out of this jam guy, and then hopefully give us 3 or 4. So we got 4 or 5 guys out of the bullpen that we really really like. Ryan Lamar. And so, I feel very comfortable with those 10 guys. And then, it's a left on left matchup or a right on right matchup with a couple other guys. But for the most part, those guys coming out of the pen are going to give us, not necessarily like 1 or 2 outs, but, they're going to give us 4 or 5, 6 outs, hopefully. And then we can close the door from there.
Coach, you mentioned Caleb Freeman earlier. When it comes to the offense, he and Michael McGinnis are the 2 guys that are hitting above 300 for you guys. And they're hitting 13 home runs and 9 home runs respectively. But you also have Jesse Donahoe with 12 home runs and Colin Hynek with 17 home runs. These guys have started most of the games for you, if not all of them. How important are these guys, not just to the offense, but also the leadership that they have?
Oh, I mean, besides Freeman, all those guys were on the team last year, and we had a little bit of a, it's kind of the problem with the NIL and the transfer portal and all that stuff. We had some guys that were really good. There's some guys pitching with some pretty big teams across the country right now, as every mid-major has. And so those are the guys that decided they wanted to stay. And, we really leaned on them to be able to create the culture that they wanted, that we wanted to be able to set the standard and be the cornerstone of our organization. And those guys have really just done an amazing job of staying steady, staying even. And, there's a couple of guys on the pitching staff that are like that as well. But, from the offensive standpoint, Mike McGinnis and Jesse Donahoe and Colin Heineck have been the mainstays of Georgia State baseball and who we are and what we're all about. And so, with the addition of Freeman, we've mixed the lineup up a little bit going into tomorrow probably. And we're just trying to optimize a little bit of our 7, 8, 9. So, those guys kind of hold down the fort, and it's really fun to be able to be a part of teams and players that are mature, that that you're going to be friends with them the rest of your life. You can challenge them, they can challenge you, but most of all, you're on the same page going through space and time. And hopefully we can give you guys a nice little game and see what happens.
So speaking of this weekend series, this is only the second time that you faced off against Louisiana, and as in your time as head coach at Georgia State. What kind of challenges does playing against a Matt Day's coach team bring, and what are you most looking forward to when playing this weekend?
I like it because they play like us. I mean, they're hard-nosed, gritty, tough, not scared to get in your face. Those guys have tasted their own blood and still kept going for more. And so that's what you want. You want to be able to go up against I just like good baseball. Like I truly do. I like good baseball. And I know that they're coached well, and I think that when you're coached well, it's always going to be good baseball. And every year is a little bit different up and down in terms of end results. But for the most part, those guys are going to give you everything that you can do. You got to put in some special plays. You got to be on your toes. You guys just bunt a ton. So we'll just play the third baseman, basically behind the pitcher and make you guys hit. And it's going to be a nice little challenge both ways.
Well, I will tell you, it's sometimes challenging for us as fans because we don't know what the hell we're going to do sometimes. So we're in this together, Coach. I can tell you sometimes we pull our hair out as well. A couple more questions and we'll let you get along with your day. First of all, before we get to the keys to victory, which we will ask you what your keys to victory are this weekend, I do want to ask, we do have some Cajuns fans that are planning on making the trip. Actually, a couple are already on their way down there. Anywhere around the stadium or in the area that you would recommend as far as eats? Because Louisiana, that's what we pride ourselves on. That's why we have high cholesterol. But anywhere around the stadium that you would say or somewhere that they definitely need to check out while they're visiting out at Georgia State.
Sure. I think that there's right down the street from the stadium is a place called Sugar Hill. And in essence, it's kind of a row of just restaurants and bars and breweries. And I think that Atlanta offers probably some of the most creative and culturally whatever you want neighborhoods as you get. So if you want the Cajun food, you can easily find that. If you want to be a hipster, you want the steak and the potatoes. I think that there's a place for everybody. There's a neighborhood for everybody, and it just depends on which direction you want to go. So with a few million people, I think that you'll be able to do whatever it is that you fancy for your meals
within walking distance too, mind you. That's the beauty of being in a big city. I live in Houston, so it's much of the same thing, but I will tell you, Cajun people will not eat at Cajun places outside of Louisiana, so we'll stay away from those. We'll try your other local cuisine. Final thing I have for you, Coach, and then we'll let you go. Keys to victory this weekend. I had 3 keys to victory, but it could be 1 key, whatever you're thinking. What do you guys have to do this weekend to be successful against the Cajuns?
No, ultimately, we have to put people away early. We have to beat people. If we're 1-2, we got to put them away. With 0-2, we got to put them away, or at least, have something put in play. And so ultimately, it's really limit the walks, limit the free base on balls. If you're going to have a free base on ball, it's a 6 or 7 pitch at bat where you had good pitches and you just missed a little bit. And then I think our 7, 8, 9 has to really do a good job of putting the ball in play and getting the execution part done. But offensively, I think it's 2 out RBIs. You guys you guys pitched pretty well. I think that the way we win is kind of those three aspects going in, because I know we're going to be in a position to have some good 2-out RBI opportunities, but we really have to put them in play. We have to do a good job with that. So those are kind of the three to that as we sit right now, and they may change on Friday night, but that's what we can imagine.
You aren't kidding when you're saying that we are very much alike, Coach, because I would say the same three for us. So look forward to a very competitive series this weekend. Look forward to the competition. Thank you for joining us again today. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Strom from Georgia State. We appreciate it, man, and look forward to meeting up with you guys this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, Coach Strom from Georgia State. I almost said Southern. Oh, my God. Daryl Lynn would have killed me. Big Georgia Southern fan listening right now. But Georgia State, not Southern. We take them on for a 3-game series this weekend, boys. And it's not going to be an easy task. Let's just face it. I mean, one, we cannot take any team for granted anywhere on our schedule. And that continues this weekend against Georgia State. I know, they're coming off of a sweep at Arkansas State. That's not how they wanted to perform, but let's take a look at how we compare against them and all of the stats that we kind of track here. Team batting average, they lead 269 to our 259. Home runs, 52 home runs for Georgia State against our 31. And it's not because of their ballpark, because their ballpark dimensions outside of center field are much like ours. Stolen bases. We have a slight edge there, 750 stolen base rate to their 747, but we have attempted we have successfully stolen as many bases as they have attempted. So something to watch this weekend. As you know, we are very aggressive on the base paths. Strikeouts, they lead 404 strikeouts to our 355. We lead our with team ERA, and we continue to improve in team ERA as we go through the season. Just a couple weeks ago, we were hovering around 6. Now we're down to 5.11, which is good to see. Opponents' free bases pretty much even there. We walk less, but hit more, and they walk more but hit less. So it's a pretty much a wash there. And then fielding percentage, we're slightly better at 970. What I see here are two teams that are very much alike. And then I put, again, when you look at their 52 home runs, left field is 334, center is 385, and right is 338. Left and right are pretty much comparative to the Cajuns. Center field for Louisiana is about 400 feet. Theirs is at 385. So a little bit shorter distance to get it out in center field. But again, they're going to hit the ball. They're going to swing the bat. He mentioned a couple guys, and Lane, you did too in the interview, who have power and hit for power and continue to, do things throughout the entire season, regardless of the opponent. So it's going to be a tough challenge for us this weekend. Boys, I'll start with you, Jerry. What do you think we need to do this weekend to get the win over Georgia State?
I think it goes back to the basics of just good pitching, good defense, get the timely hit. I think this is a very friendly ballpark for the type of lineup that we have. I think this is an opportunity this is a really good opportunity for our lineup to really put bat to the ball. I trust our pitching staff. I like the fact that we kind of found our niche in our pitching rotation for the weekend. So I feel good about that. If you look at Georgia State's record in the last 11 games, they're 2-9. Now, granted, some of those 9 losses have come from Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss, but at the same time, they're on a 4-game losing skid right now. So they're going to be hungry, but at the same time, we're slowly getting better. So I just think for us, we just have to go in with the approach of hit them early, hit the ball early, swing the bat early. Simo, Andrew, and JR need to be on their A game on the mound. And I think we just can't make goofy errors like we did to start the season off. So I'm going to be looking for our bats this weekend. This is a very hitter-friendly ballpark. I'm going to be looking to see what our bats do. If our bats can do what we can expect them to do, I think we'll be fine. I think it'll be a good weekend.
Sounds a lot like what Coach Strom said, honestly. And I told him that. I said the keys to victory, ours are pretty much the same. You can't be fooled by their record in the last 9 games because you go back and you look at what they've done as a, I'm a big picture guy. So you look at the big picture and what they've done this season. I mean, hell, they swept South Alabama, which granted, South Alabama's not great, but they did sweep them. They swept the JMU, which again, JMU is not great, but they did get the sweep. There are several teams that we should have swept this season that we did not sweep this season. So Georgia State's going to be ready to play us this weekend, especially at home. They have a win over Kennesaw State earlier this season. They won 1 out of 3 against ODU. Really, a lot of their struggles come in conference, and that's to be expected because we have a really tough conference. But you look back at, they played Georgia in March. They lost 16-10. I mean, they scored a bunch of runs against Georgia. They lost 3-7 against Georgia at their baseball complex in Atlanta. So that was a little bit closer, but they beat Kennesaw State. I mean, they run ruled them 14-4 earlier this year. So you can't take for granted their schedule. I mean, you look at their schedule; they have a better overall record than us at 24-22. However, their conference record's not as great. That's really where they've struggled. Lane, your thoughts on what to look forward to? What we have to do to be able to pull off a win against the Panthers this weekend?
I feel like we have to minimize the damage from their 4 main offensive guys. Their leading home run hitter has 17 on the year. So we need to really avoid the long ball, avoid getting walks for their batters. I mean, we've gotten a little better with that lately, but we still need to limit it. Otherwise, it could be a long weekend. But I'm looking forward to a good, like Coach said, a good weekend of baseball, and hopefully we'll get either the win the series or get a sweep.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Sean Smith. He's their leading hitter at 374, slugging 639. He's got 9 homers on the season. He's been hit by pitch 7 times. Josh Tate, I think you just talked about him. He's got 11 homers on the season. He's been hit 6 times. So there's going to be an opportunity for our guys to come in a little too tight on the Georgia State because they're looking to get hit. But at the same time, if you don't pitch them inside and get them off the plate, they have a chance to turn it and go yard on you. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously confident going into Friday. They have a very capable Friday night starter, but you always got to feel like SEMO is going to give you that advantage on Friday night. Hopefully we can pull it out for Toledo on Sunday and then see what happens on Saturday. Just hope for the best against the Panthers starting on Friday night. Let's turn our attention to the Cajuns softball team who pulled out a big win, the first Friday win in conference, and I don't know how long. It's been a really long time, but they get the big win over the Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles by a score of 2-0. And Mallory Wheeler pitching a no-no as a freshman for the Cajuns.
Freshman.
You gotta love it for the freshman, man. That was fun to watch. And look, let's be honest. Southern Miss kind of gave it away. Their pitcher was on. Our bats weren't really doing much against her. Their defense was doing some nice things, but they blinked first, and it gave us an opportunity to score. And that's what you expect out of your team at home, is that when the other team blinks, you take advantage. The girls did it, and they come up with a big 2-0 win. Wheeler gets her first no-no as a collegiate pitcher. Very excited for her future. If we can hang on to her, I think the future is bright for the Raging Cajun softball team on the mound. But boys, want to give you a chance to give your comments on that before we move on.
Yeah, congratulations to Mal. That's always awesome when you pitch a no-no, especially this late in the year where we kind of need some good pitchers in the circle to step up. Kind of the tale of this season so far has been blowing leads and not getting timely hits when you have runners on base. And I think the last 10 games or so, we've been able to do both. So if there's any time for this team to get hot, I think we're 7-2 in the last 9 games. We won a huge series in San Marcos last week. It was a good way to start this series. I think, look, you got to get the sweep this weekend. Get the sweep this weekend, carry some momentum into the Sun Belt tournament. Look, I know we're not placed well in the conference right now, but look, I mean, we're just as hot as anybody in the conference at the moment. So I thought today, to your point, Nick, about that error made it first base. I think the first baseman threw it to first thinking somebody would be there.
And nobody was there.
And there was nobody was there. But you know what? This is a situation where when you have a team like this that's been going through so much up and down, you take advantage of anything that's given to you. And I thought we did that today, followed by good pitching, because earlier in the year, we might lose a game like this where, our pitcher pitches lights out and we can't get on base or we can't get a timely hit. So that was a good win tonight. I see the tide starting to turn in a positive manner for our softball team right now, as unusual as this season has been. But if there's any time for the tide to turn, it's now. And let's just keep that win streak going.
I totally agree. Last thing we're going to mention before we get to the Lanyap stuff is men's golf. Milan, I'm gonna screw this up. Putt-Guider. I want to call him Protege, but it's Putt-Guider, I believe is how you pronounce it. For the men's golf team, going to be participating in the NCAA regionals. So congratulations to him. What an honor it is to represent Louisiana there. Wanted to definitely get a mention. And by the way, if you want to check out some of the mentions of our golf teams, our track teams, some extra stuff that we have kind of brewing out there in articles and in print form, please check out rageandreview.com. Again, it's where we really get our thoughts out on paper. And I think it's starting to resonate with a lot of Cajuns fans. And want to mention again, our sponsors make rageandreview.com possible. Thanks to Award Master, Dr. Brett Venable, who, by the way, my back's hurting. I need to go back to Lafayette just to see him for a little bit of an adjustment there. Lafayette Roofing, Darren Domain, that's my boy. Eat Lafayette, brought to you by Lafayette Travel, and then Rage and Hydration. So thanks to all of them for making rageandreview.com possible. Without them, we could not be here or doing the fun stuff that we are doing. Boys, before we go tonight, a little lanyap. Let's talk about the Kentucky Derby that's happening on Saturday afternoon. Excited to see. I think we might have some people watching. I know my boy Reese Burns is coming. I'm hoping Simo's parents might be here. We're going to be watching some baseball on Saturday afternoon. I'm gonna get the crawfish boil going around 3:00, and then of course the Kentucky Derby a little bit later. But wanted to ask you boys, and I know horse racing. For my dad was always into horse racing. My family would go to horse racing at Evangeline Downs. It was their thing before I was born and probably when I was still a little baby. But a lot of people in Louisiana, not that big on the Kentucky Derby. But now that we have things that you can bet on using your phone, the Kentucky Derby is a little more well-known in Louisiana. So I'll go around the horn, start with you, Jerry. Who is your pick for the Kentucky Derby on Saturday? And do you have any reason why, or do you just like the name?
No, I like journalism. I've kind of I kind of did some research on him. He's just been dominating. The last 4 or 5 races, he's 4-0. He's come in first place. And I think he's probably got the best odds, if I'm not mistaken. But I like journalism. I also think keep an eye on Sovereignty. He's another one that's really, really good. He's placed in the top 3 in the last 4 or 5 races. And then also Sandman. So those would be my top 3, but I think journalism's going to take it.
I think you just like the single names. I don't.
Look, I'm
the words. Maybe that's it.
Hey, look, let me tell you. So I have family members that owned that they shared a horse, and you talk about single names. The horse that they owned, was the biological brother of Smarty Jones, who came 1 race short. Lost the Belmont, could have won the Triple Crown, I believe, in 2004, I think it was. So I like the multiple names just because, we got family in the matter here. But no, I just think journalism it's journalism's to lose.
I usually actually look at, so my strategy is I usually look at the trainer and the jockey. I always want to go with the jockey from Louisiana. Trainer, Bob Baffert. He just wins, dude. But I don't know. I don't think this is a Baffert year because I looked at his horses. Andy Thomas, he's saying Hud's my butt. That's actually my next question. So you guys thinking what you would name your horse, but I'll let you go, Lane. Then I'll give you my pick, and then we'll go around the horn and ask what you would name your horse.
So I originally had a different option or a different horse name because it was the one that there was Toby Keith's horse. But
right, I saw that.
I switched my pick for Burnham Square, mostly because the jockey is originally from Lafayette.
Okay,
So-
nothing wrong with that.
Thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like Sovereignty. I like his trainer. Like you, Jerry. I did a little bit of research on the trainer. Did a little bit of research on the jockey. I had originally picked. Oh shoot, was it Sandman? There was one of the other horses that I picked, but it ended up having in the training this week something wrong with one of their hooves, and I was like, oh, gotta get away from that. I'm going with Sovereignty. I think that's going to be my pick for the week. So I usually go with the Baffert horse, but not this week. I know Baffert's got 2 horses running the Derby. Not picking a Baffert one this week. All right. As far as what you would name your horse, and I mean, this is just a totally open dialogue here, so I'm not going to call anybody, but I'd love to hear what you guys would name your horse. My brother always put this in my head that he would name his horse Throw Me Something Mister. And I love that. I think that is cool. So I'm going to go with that. My brother said, throw me something, mister. I don't know if they ever had one. You know, you have to log it into this database of horse names. I would go with Who Farted, like they had the Hoof Hearted before. But obviously that one was already taken, so we can't do. So I would say, throw me something, Mr. Boys. Any thoughts on what you would name yours, Jerry?
Man, I tell you what.
How appropriate. How appropriate. Lane?
Need a mascot.
Need a mascot.
Need a
Oh, that's
mascot.
good.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
My mom, I always talk about Thelma. My mom's watching. I go through, every time I go home, I always, this is funny.
Andy, you suck, man.
We're going to go back to that, but I always go through old photos and pictures and things and say, oh my God, you guys remember this? This was you. My mom had a horse that was named after her. It was called Thelma Jew, but I always joke that she was named after the horse. To this day, I'm like, I can't believe you were named after a horse. This, Andy, is actually quite accurate. Jerry's horse would be named. What high school you went to? You're so predictable, Jerry.
Wow. Nick, I gotta ask. So your family, your family's into horse racing. Do you watch the Triple Crown? Do you watch all the Preakness with the Belmont as well, or do you watch it depending on the horses?
No, this year I haven't been really keeping up with it as I usually do. I usually watch the Preakness before it, hoping for the Triple Crown. Which when was the last time that was done? Was it
2016?
Yeah.
It was American Pharaoh won.
Oh, yeah.
And then the one behind them in 16. It was 2 years in a row.
It's been a while, but no, I usually try to catch the Preakness for sure. But I don't get that much into it. It depends if it's on TV and I catch it. But always the Kentucky Derby is always something, we have people over for. And this year, because I'm having a crawfish bowl, I'm not requiring any fancy hats or anything, but I will have a board and have everybody who comes there do their picks. So if the Morgans are watching, and if Reese is watching, y'all better get your picks together, because I will expect that on my big board to see where you end up. And roast beef Ron might be coming to my party as well. I think he's going to be in the Houston area. So
awesome.
Just get your picks ready, baby.
I know my dad's been in the Kentucky Derby a few times. That's something on my bucket list that I would like to attend just one time, just to say I went. Nick, I'm sure. Have you been before?
I have not. That is something, and one of my friends just moved to Louisville. So yeah, I said it right, by the way, because I want to say Louisville. But Louisville, that it feels like you have to just trip over your tongue saying it. But no, I've not been. I would love to go. And hell, I'll even wear a big hat.
If it lets you in,
a sucker and a big hat or something. I don't know. No, I would love to go. I think that's definitely on the bucket list.
For sure.
One thing I want to mention before we go about softball. Softball actually is hosting the conference tournament next season.
Nice.
That was announced earlier in the week. Now I wish baseball would go back to the rotating schools.
Extended the contract in Montgomery, man. Come on, dude.
Hey, where else can you watch a baseball game, go get something to eat, and watch a shooting all on the same night?
Come on, man.
All within a block of each other.
Put that baby in Pensacola or Biloxi or somewhere else.
Pensacola would be great. I don't want it in Biloxi because I don't want it that accessible for Southern Miss fans. I want them to have to drive a little bit just because I'm an a-hole. Outside of that, I mean, it's still closer for them, but I would rather it be in Pensacola. I mean, come on, man. Pensacola, you got the beach right there.
Right.
They've got the accommodations, definitely.
You got stuff to
central,
do,
right?
Yeah, Pensacola's a bigger city. It's a tourist destination.
Andy's saying New Orleans, yeah, but the thing is with New Orleans is where are you going to put it? Zephyr Stadium? That thing's already been turned into a freaking soccer stadium at this point.
And a football field.
Yeah.
Well, the Catholic League
shrine on Airline is really a shrine now because
look, Jesuit plays their football games there now. Like they actually turned it into a football stadium with rugby and soccer, and it's like so it's everything but baseball now.
Of course, you would know that about Jesuit.
Well, yeah, because they actually televise the
went
games.
to school there.
I mean, if you're like the Savannah Bananas, you can turn any stadium into a baseball stadium.
Like
look, why? Okay, so what's the hate with the Savannah Bananas? Because if you just appreciate it for what it is, just like the Harlem Globetrotters, like they're not trying to be legitimate baseball. That neither are the Harlem Globetrotters. Like this undefeated record. Come on, man.
Who's hating on them? What's the problem?
There's a lot of
there's a lot. Yeah. I think it's because I wouldn't even call them baseball purists because I feel like I'm a baseball purist. I don't want things to change as far as rules go, but this is entertainment. You just got to accept it for what it is, like the Globetrotters of
basically
baseball.
the WWE of baseball.
I enjoy it, man. I think it's funny. And by the way, we have a former player that coaches them.
Well, look, they're selling out. People obviously are going. I mean, there's a high demand everywhere they go. I mean, Clemson, 89, 90,000 people showed up to their baseball game, even though the baseball field dimensions were, I mean, I could see where people are a little kind of like scratching their heads at it, but dude, they sold out 89,000 people. So, or 85,000 people, however many. So, but yeah, no, to your point about the tournament, I like the fact that softball's bringing it to Lafayette next year because it's always fun. The Sun Belt tournament
I think next year it's at Lamson, and the following year it's at James Madison.
Oh, also another reminder: Saturday, 10 a.m. spring game.
Yeah,
football.
spring football. Glad you mentioned that. I was talking to Mr. Jensen Senior, I call him. Earlier this week, I invited them to the Crawfish Boil, and they won't be able to make it, but they're going to be in Lafayette for that. He's like, are you going to be here doing the Crawfish Bowl? I'm like, no, bro, I didn't even know that was going on that weekend. So that'll be fun. That'll be exciting, and look forward to seeing what comes out of that. You guys, are either of you planning on going to that? We need some info.
Yeah, I'll be there for sure.
I'll be there. It depends. I mean, and now, granted, weather's supposed to be a little uncooperative as of now, but we plan on going. I do know for anybody going, obviously the stadium, new part of the stadium, still not going to be open, so the seating arrangement will be like it was last season.
Yeah.
If you want to walk in, probably just park on that end of the stadium, so you don't have to save.
And then they also have a bourbon and barrel event at the Teague as well on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like
that is
barbecue
true.
and bourbon.
Do they have milkshakes for Jerry, or is it just bourbon? Just asking for a friend.
Hey, I had a no, I'm not going to say it. Never mind.
Don't say it because I'm just gonna find you on it.
I'm a vodka guy. I don't really drink the bourbon. I'm a vodka guy. So
you're probably a Cosmo guy.
No, no,
or martini.
No.
Yeah, you.
No,
look like
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Drink
I'm not.
Your finger up.
I'm not that bad,
with
man.
your
Come on.
Seafood soup. Yeah.
Hey,
okay.
give me a good vodka Sprite with a lime. I'm happy.
I do put alcohol in my coffee every morning, so that helps.
Okay, my man. That's what I'm talking about.
I've never said I can't say I've ever done that before.
I've done it before.
They have coffee liqueurs that
hey, I gotta tell you, man. After a long night on bourbon, you gotta have something in the morning, and if it's not a Bloody Mary, it's some bourbon in your coffee to try to get you started, because you got to get through the beer shits, and that that's got to get you.
But look, I'm this spring game is going to be interesting because I am excited to see what our offensive and defensive lines are going to look like, and I want to see what the quarterback play is going to look like. That's going to be fun to watch.
I want to see Walker Howard out there. What was his name from LSU? The wide receiver.
Samson.
Look forward.
Samson.
Look forward to seeing that. So you guys take the video or let me know what's going on. Sorry, Lane. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I'm curious if they're actually going to do like an actual game. I want to say last year or the year before, it wasn't really like a game. It was more like a walkthrough practice style thing.
Yeah, last year, and they had it in the indoor too, so it didn't really help because you couldn't really have
the weather. and whatnot.
Yeah, so hopefully the weather cooperates because I would like to see a game. You're starting to see around college football, not many teams are doing spring games anymore. It's like practices and scrimmages now and drills. And it's like at that point, I'm like, why have it then? Why even do it?
Why even bother? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you just having a practice. Like just now, I do know that
practice, man.
We're talking about practice, man. Now, I do know that they're starting to have conversations with, the NCAA changing rules every day, it seems like, but they are starting to have conversations about the possibility of teams scrimmaging one another. I do think I never really understood why, like if high school could do jamborees, and do scrimmages, right? Spring and fall scrimmages in high school. And then in the NFL, they do scrimmages at training camp. Why can't colleges do the same thing for spring practice or
there are
practice?
A lot of whys with the NCAA, but if you haven't seen NIL, so they came out with an article that the University of Texas payroll for NIL this year is between $35 and $40 million.
That's more than our entire athletic budget, in NIL. So, that's crazy.
There's legislation in process from a national standpoint that will cap the amount of NIL that students can receive and all that stuff, but it's not sustainable, dude. This is not when you're talking about $35-40 million, you're not talking about money that you can give to a foundation to get a tax break on. You're talking about money you're giving away and saying goodbye. That's, maybe you win a natty or two in that, but I'm sorry, I'm not paying. I mean, even if I'm a billionaire, I'm not giving you $30 million for a natty. Like, I don't care about it that much. It's what's in it for me. Those people.
Well, I think, and also too, what's going to happen, Nick, is I think once the NCAA, and I think it's pretty much inevitable now that they're going to rule the profit sharing model, right? So now the RCAF and all of these different athletic foundations are going to be able to basically pay players. What's going to happen is you're going to see these bigger schools start charging fans, now that they have to compete for natties every year. Guess what's going to happen?
Well, they already are. There's a surcharge on certain tickets for certain programs. Yeah.
Right. But now it's going to get worse because now it's going to be under that umbrella. So the way they're going to try to get it is instead of asking John Smith to write a $10,000 or $100,000 check, they're just going to charge the fans higher ticket prices. Per seat donation is going to go up. Membership into athletic foundation is going to go up, which in turn is going to pay the player. And I think a lot of these big schools are going to have to probably start out pricing fans, especially if you don't have the competitive advantage of a Texas A&M or a Texas or say, a top 5 NIL school. The other schools in the P4 that are going to try to catch up, that's probably their way of they're going to have to do it. And I'm curious to see the reaction of the fans, the longtime season ticket holders, seeing if they're willing to pay that extra money, because you're starting to see now that these players are staying after 1 year, there's no loyalty to the school. I think it's about to be it's going to be some entertaining stuff.
I can't wait. And another thing you have to think of too is that most of it is happening in the SEC. Now you have the outliers like in Ohio State, you have Michigan, you got a couple of schools outside of the SEC that can raise that kind of money. Most of it's in the SEC. So when you have 6 teams that are asking donors to give them $40 million a year to pay the players, and then guess what? Only one of them can win a natty, and the others might not even make the playoff because there's now a playoff that excludes, certain number of teams to allow other teams to participate. It's not sustainable. What's going to happen if Brian Kelly does not win a natty this year? Those TSAP fans are going to be calling for his head. Hell, they're already doing it, and they haven't played a down of football. That's going to be crazy.
I have a bunch of LSU friends that have season tickets, and they're already complaining that the prices are going up.
Right. This is what you wanted, dude. This is what when we stood here and said this is unsustainable, it's not fair for college. Oh, well, just give more money. Okay, yeah, simple. Well, you see who's paying more money now.
But here's the twist on that, right? To your point, they were saying pay more money because you got Todd Graves writing that multi-million-dollar NIL check, so
the people doesn't affect him. More money, right? They're not the ones paying the money. They're saying pay more money.
That's correct. So wait, can you guys hear me? By the way, my screen.
Unfortunately, yeah, but go ahead.
but now that that's happened, the problem that you see is the fact that now that it's coming under the school, if it ends up going under the school with their revenue share, it's not going to be Todd Graves. It's going to be paying for paying for that player. It's going to be the fan that's telling us to pay more money because now their ticket prices are going to go up, and now their per seat donation is going to go up. Now their TAF membership is going to have to go up.
It's going to be the kid who's a freshman in college changing his last name to Ogeron because he thinks he's cool and he's going to be noticed around the football stadium and on campus. It's that kid that's going to pay for those.
They're going to be the ones to pay. And look, and the reality of it is, they're going to have to go after the fans because, you can't ask the same people to give you money. And if you're at a competitive disadvantage, that's where they're going to end up going. And I think you're going to have a lot of frustrated people that have been, like I said, had season tickets for a long time and said, I don't want to pay more of this, especially if I can't depend on these players wearing our uniform to be here for more than a year, because now you're starting to see the P4 schools eat each other up there. Especially, it's not even just in football. It's basketball, it's baseball, it's everything else besides that.
Oh, and then by the way, we still beat them in football.
Yeah.
That's what even crazier.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Last thing I want to go is before we go, I know we've said this 4 times before we go, but did you guys see, was it a Padres fan that fell over the Pirates fan that fell over the railing at the game last night? I have not seen an update. Last I heard he was still in critical condition, but unfortunately, I saw the video of it, and it's confusing, man. I mean, the word is he's a 20-year-old kid that got absolutely wasted at the game. And I guess when you're looking at it live, it looks like he launches himself, like jumps over the railing. But I'm a goober, and I've totally pulled myself, out of a seat at times. And if you do it hard enough, I guess you can propel yourself over the railing, and that's what he did. Man, that was scary to watch. I don't know if you guys saw the whole video, but that was not a good situation. Yeah, I just wanted to see if you guys saw that and had any thoughts on it.
Yeah, I saw it. Not as it happened, 'cause I wasn't watching it live, but I saw the videos of it, and it did not look good at all. It looked like he broke several bones, obviously falling 20 feet. We'll do that, but I hope he's okay. I haven't seen any, like I said, I haven't seen any updates.
I want to say how we can be okay after that, man.
I want to say they stopped the game for a good 10, 15 minutes. And honestly, I don't know how they finished the game after that. I mean, after seeing something like that, you kind of don't want to play a game. It's kind of like with the Damar Hamlin situation when that happened.
And I think too, the one thing that may help him recover and be able to pull through it is that he was so drunk, man. He felt like a rag doll. And so there was no bracing himself when he fell. Oftentimes that's where a lot of people really do a lot of damage is you brace yourself and then you break all the bones in your body. So it did not look good. And again, he's in critical condition last I heard. But hopes to him and his family that had to unfortunately watch that on social media. Fans having yourself on places is good sometimes, but things like that, I don't know, maybe you just want to keep that to yourself, but everybody wants clicks on their profile, right, Jerry?
Well, that's not the way to do it, unfortunately. I mean, and look, seriously, I saw the video and it just, he landed on his back too. I mean, that could paralyze somebody,
or worse.
Yeah. And so, I hope he's okay. I don't know what could have caused that, right? But geez, man, that was tough to watch. That was tough to watch
for a kid when you find out he was 20 years old, and hope he's able to recover in whatever, even if things aren't the way they were before. Just hope for him and his family he's able to recover. So yeah, I agree. That was tough to watch. All right, boys. Well, look forward to a weekend of baseball as the Raging Cajuns travel over to Atlanta, GA to take on the Georgia State Panthers in a 3-game series. Very important for conference standings and how we end up in the tournament. Boys, any final thoughts before we go? Jerry, Lane, anything you got for us?
Looking forward to a good baseball series this weekend, and hopefully we get the sweep.
I agree. Jerry?
Yeah, for those of you who have...
I think Jerry just canceled himself. You know what? It's perfect time for some Belton Richard. You hear that? It's just a bunch of crazy stuff in your ear. Guys speaking French. And Jerry kicks himself off the stream. It wasn't me, by the way. For Lane. For Jerry. For Josh, who is, doing adult things tonight. I am Nicholas. Thanks for joining us on Rage and Review. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. And until next time, go Cajuns.
Ça ici, c'est votre rapporteur de nouvelles avec God Tracas. Cette fois, la game de plot. Tu peux nous dire, monsieur, que c'est qu'arrivé?
Ouais, je peux te dire. J'étais là pour m'amuser à la game de plot. Le premier home run qui a été gagné. Mon cher, c'est là où je pétale la partie à la cour. Tout le tour, les buts, tout nu comme un vache.